our next story, again, before I get into this, some context for this one. Because make sure you leave this part in at the beginning of the individual edit, AJ. Because Netflix have cracked down on password sharing. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying there is no judgment from me, and I would imagine from my esteemed colleague who's literally coined the phrase AJ Vision. All right, there is no judgment from here. We have all done Netflix password sharing. I'd even go on record and say that I was the victim of this assault on my password sharing freedom but a few days ago. So, this is fresh. But you know what? It's not a bad thing for Netflix. Like, it's one of the funny sound bites I always heard. Actually, I'll save this part till after. But ultimately, it's stealing. What we're doing is stealing. You imagine, let me take this. Here's a Funko Pop of Optimus Prime. Yes, my guy. Yes, you can see I like Transformers. Here's a Funko Pop of Optimus Prime. Now, this is 20 quid. You know, they're not expensive. But let's say I now take this home and I do a 3D scan of it. This is plastic. You know, it's not that hard to duplicate. I do a 3D scan of this and I start handing these out for free to you, to Louis, to Den, to Leon. You can bet your ass both Hasbro and Funko are coming after me if they find out about that. Because I am literally stealing from them. And again, no judgment. I just confessed to being a criminal myself in this situation. There is no judgment. But ultimately, what we are doing from Netflix is stealing when we are password sharing. But so here's the full story, because and I'll add something to this afterwards, which is quite funny. But here's the full story from, I believe it's from Variety. Let me just bring this up now, because I personally think it's a very interesting story. Here we go. So Netflix password crackdown drives US signups to highest levels in at least 4 years. This is from Variety. At least initially, Netflix's broad password crackdown appears to be producing the streamer's desired results in converting freeloaders, into paying customers in the US, according to early data from research company Antenna. On May 23rd, Netflix began notifying US customers that users on their accounts who live outside their households would need to be added as a quote-unquote extra member or get their own subscriptions. Since then, Netflix has had the 4 single largest days of US user sign-up since January 2019, when Antenna first began tracking the metric. Based on the most current Antenna data available, Netflix average daily sign-ups reached 73,000 from May 25th to May 28th, 102% increase from the prior 60-day average. That was more than the spikes in subscriber signups Antenna recorded during the initial, dig this, more than during the initial US COVID-19 lockdowns in March and April 2020. That is crazy. Now, Adri, can you see on this graph here? Yeah?
Yeah.
Look at this spike right at the right, on the right side of the graph. That is the week period when they put in the password crackdown. So this has worked. Now, the thing I would like to add to this, because I find it oh so funny, is in a typical consumer rebellious fashion, so many people have now turned around and said, well, I just don't watch Netflix anymore if they're not going to let me password share. Reality check, if you're not paying for the subscription, it's not going to bother Netflix that you're not watching them anymore, because you shouldn't have been watching them in the first place. Just putting it out there. Now, listen, this is proven to have worked. And what they've done, which I actually think is quite clever, is on the memberships where it allows you to add an extra member, that extra member isn't paying full price. So not only is it making sure that passwords are being cracked down, but it's also, they didn't need to do that. They could literally have said, no, 1 password per household, F you, pay me. But they haven't. So I actually think they played
do.
ball quite well there. AJ,
could
your
do.
thoughts?
You could do, but it sucks. You could do, but it sucks to do that because let's be honest. I'm not going to name the other streaming platform because I don't want them to follow suit. But we password share. And we have profiles of our own. And that helps because when we do our other show, Movie Mount Rushmore, when we first started, we were sharing an account and it was like, oh, I'm halfway there on this film. I'll go back because you were X amount of minutes. It's good to have profiles, right? It helps, right? Yeah, Mr. AJ Vision himself is actually the full paying member. Netflix started off as my brother's account. It cancelled. My sister picked it up. She was going to give it up. My nephew was really up for it. And I was like, I'm in the middle of watching Big Bang Theory. I'm going to pay it. And then I came home one day and I got the message that said, are you the main household? And I was like, because I heard this was coming and it came the day after. I've literally been the sole owner, the sole household of a Netflix account. And it's so annoying because it actually still says, hi, Nathan, new films for you. And I'm like, no, Anthony's the main man now. So I need to get that changed. I need to make my account the main account. But taking that aside, it happens. But do you know the funny thing? And this is the thing, like, because I am that person who likes to have the full HD. If I ever sign up for something, I go to full hog. I'm still paying $16.99. I've got 5 accounts. One person's using it. Told the missus, oh, you can get an account now. She's like, still watching the shows on yours. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's where we're at. But I was going to do the extra accounts. I was going to pay the £4 or whatever it was for the extra account. My family categorically said, I don't do Netflix anymore. Now, had it not been for the fact that I am currently on the US office, had it not been for the fact that I enjoy the TV show You, a couple of Netflix originals, and there aren't many, dare I say. Stranger Things, like I want to get involved. I've not had the time to get involved. Umbrella Academy, same category. Like AJ's not the only one who has AJ Vision. There are many people who ride the sail the 7 seas and have means of doing it. And I'm not saying my family are when I'm saying this, but I'm saying Netflix don't have enough content currently to make it worth it. So yes, there's been a spike because there are a few who are like, I need to finish X or Y, and that's that. But unless they can bring up the content, and this is something you said time and time again, their movies aren't the greatest. They're lucky on their series. Now, Henry Cavill's not exactly the Witcher at the moment. It depends on how hard they hit. No, but let's be real. Let's be real. Some of the stuff that, and here's the thing, as much as I talk about I'm watching The Office, they are lucky because that's not a Netflix production. That is something they happen to have syndicated. Now, if we are going down the route, and I'm going to call it as I call it, where everybody starts to take their toys, because guess what? Go look for Daredevil. You ain't finding that no more. That's in the House of Mouse. Now, if everyone starts taking their stuff away, Netflix, that peak of yours that you were going for, it's going to dip real quick. That's point 1. Point 2, and I don't want to drag it out too long because I want to give you your say. Point 2, what was point 2? I'll leave it there because I can't remember what point 2 was. But it's one to do with content. And yeah, people aren't as invested in Netflix as it was. Like, you need to have the content to make people care.
Bro, you've said that perfectly. Nothing to add, to be honest. The reality is that content is king. You've said it. And if Netflix double down and do what HBO do and put all that money that they are frankly peeing into the wind. Notice I'm not swearing because we can't swear anymore. Thank you, YouTube. They're literally peeing that money into the wind because that movie, I can't even remember, The Grey Man, $250 million that cost between getting Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling and Ana de Armas. The movie was awful. What was that movie they did with Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, and Gal Gadot? Like
Red Notice, was it?
Yeah, awful. Like, we
Can
are
I be
not
honest?
living in the age of movie stars anymore.
The one that went all over the place, that had everyone going crazy. Netflix have got their movie. Will Smith, Bright. It was pretty dim. Like, it just wasn't a great film. And now I remember the other point I was going to say. A lot of the backlash that Netflix are receiving is because they were telling people, oh, passwords are meant for sharing. I've seen it, and this is not a joke. If you go onto Twitter, you can see Amazon replied to them saying, like, oh, so what happened to this? And they're like, like sharing is caring or something like that with their different profile pictures. It's got a gold tick. It's not a joke. It's an actual verified account telling Netflix you lot done bad. And that's the other side of it. Like, you need to know if you're telling people to do one thing, don't get everyone to sign up and then be like, oh, by the way, we're taking our toys back. You made it that, you know. No one has said it had to be within the household. It then became a household thing later on.
All right, so the question goes over to you guys. What do you all think of this Netflix password crackdown? Has it affected you? Do you agree with us when it comes to the content debate that there's just not enough really great content on there to keep people tuned into Netflix when you hold it up against things like Apple TV, who are knocking it out the park at the moment, HBO Max, now Max? That Netflix have the opportunity to make great series, and they have done so in the past, but their movies are not good. Do you guys agree or disagree? Let us know, and don't forget to like and subscribe, please.